Number 1. I'm 15 years old, but at the time of this event, I had just turned 14. I had gotten a boyfriend a month prior to this, and this is important background information. I had gotten a Facebook friend request from a guy named Ryan. He messaged me a month after I accepted the request. I had accepted him thinking it was a friend or uncle or someone my boyfriend knew. He stated clearly that he had my iPod. Freaking out, I asked him how he knew it was mine. He said that the dog on the lock screen was the same as my Facebook background. At the time, I believed him, since I had lost my iPod about 7 or 8 months before this incident. Now I realise my background was not my dog. It was Sheldon Cooper. I asked when and where he found it. I'm naturally skeptical and I have trust issues, which is why I tried to test his knowledge of the matter. He, however, knew exactly what time and where I lost it. I had lost it at a Hardee's close to midnight, and I had lost it 6 to 8 months prior his friend request. He also said he was there the same night I was, but I never noticed him. However, he proceeded to tell me he had it in a box in his room, and if I liked to come get it, I could come over any time. I asked him if he could mail it to me, but I have not had any reply from him since. This event really freaks me out, and I do not want the iPad anymore. Number 2. So this happened to my best friend and I about 9 years ago. We were 16. She had a car and she liked to drive. We drove around town almost nightly. Anyways, so one night, maybe around 8 or 9 p.m, we decided to find the end of this rather main road. As the miles went on, it started to be the middle of nowhere. After maybe 30 minutes, there was a pond to our left and the road was gravel. We had no idea where we were. We saw nothing around us. The road ended with a boulder in the middle of it, and trash and sticks everywhere. So we turned around and headed home. A few minutes later, a truck was right on our tail. We hadn't seen a road it could have come off of, and we hadn't seen anyone around the pond. It seemed to have come out of nowhere. My friend was speeding, going at about 70 miles per hour. The speed limit was probably 40 or 45. We were freaking out. I called my mum, telling her someone was going to kill us. My friend started having a panic attack, so I was trying to steer and talk to my mum. We were speeding through stop signs, and the guy tried to get beside us and run us off of the road. But my friend sped up again and nearly missed him. Then he turned off his lights and he did it again. We sped along maybe 20 or more seconds when we realised that he was gone. Just like that. When I got home, I told my mum the story from the beginning, and she said that the pond area was shady and she thinks we interrupted a drug deal or a meth lab site and they wanted to scare us off. I still live in the same city, but I have not been back to that area again. Number 3. I moved into a ground floor flat with my boyfriend 2 weeks ago. You can access the flat by the apartment complex building, or by the garden. The neighbourhood is pretty calm, and people let their children play outside alone, and everyone seems pretty relaxed. The following Sunday, at 11:30 a.m, we heard some noises at the door inside the apartment complex building, as if someone was trying to unlock it. The door handle and the keys that we left in the lock when we were home were moving. On Monday, noises started at about 9:30 p.m. We tried to look through the peephole, but the lights were out. Around 11 p.m. that same night, we heard the door again. This time, the lights in the corridor were on. My boyfriend saw an eye through the peephole, gave a kick in the door, and a shadow ran out of the building. We called the police. After a week, without hearing anything, we thought that it would be the end of it. But it started again 2 days ago. On Tuesday, we heard footsteps in the garden at 10 p.m. The person left when we turned the lights on. We have shutters, so we couldn't see him. You can see the light from outside when we turn it on though. The same thing happened during the night between Wednesday and Thursday. This time, my boyfriend came out of the flat just in time to see someone running out of the garden. 15 minutes after, noises started again. This time, 2 people ran out of the garden. We called the police. A patrol came, but they found no one. We heard footsteps for the 3rd consecutive night. We don't know who they are, what they want, or what they want to do. Number 4. About a year or so ago, one of my friends was having a tea party, which was basically an excuse for her mum to let her have a bunch of friends over and eat junk food. We were all hanging out, and me and 2 of my friends there decided to go for a walk and chill. We didn't go far, just a block away, and we sat on this brick wall that looked over the street and the nearby QFC. We sat for a while and talked, when all of a sudden, we heard a girl scream loudly, "No, don't take me." Then her screams were muffled, and we heard a car door slam. No less than 30 seconds later, we saw a black van whiz past at full speed. We ran back to the house. There was a lot of confusion because her mum was upset that we had gone off on a walk by ourselves, and everyone was upset, and no one knew what was going on. But I called 911, and the operator said that they'd send someone to check it out, but no one ever showed up. We never found out what happened to that girl, and the guy never got caught. So, guy in the black van, let's not meet. Number 5. Growing up, my parents worked, and if my parents couldn't watch my brother and me, he and I would stay home alone. Well, it was sometime in the summer. I had to be around 8 or 9 years old. I was home alone. We lived about 30 or so miles outside of LA, and being at the end of a cul-de-sac, no one came by. I don't remember where my brother was at the time, but I was in the den watching TV, when suddenly I saw a man and a woman walk up to the front door. They started knocking loudly and screaming, "Karen, open the door." Frozen out of fear, I tried to hide under a blanket, hoping they wouldn't see me. The den had a window that looked out to the front yard. After knocking, the couple looked into the den window and continued to shout my name. Crying, I crawled under a table to avoid being seen. They continued to shout, but eventually gave up. After they left, I called my mum at work, terrified, and asked if she knew who they were. She didn't. My dad came home an hour later, after my mum had told him what happened. He looked around the yard for attempted entry and found nothing. I never found out who they were or what they wanted, but let's never meet again. Number 6. This happened a few years ago when I was in middle school. We were at Bill's house, celebrating the end of the sports season. We were playing in the front yard, and the parents were inside chatting away. We were close to the street, and all 7 of us weren't planning on moving anytime soon. Down the street, a large white unmarked van was driving and stopped right next to us. A man got out and offered us candy. By this point, we were scared out of our minds, and with many stumbles and trips, we ran back into the house. 2 of us tripped on the way back, but we all made it back in unscathed. We hurriedly told the parents, who stood outside the rest of the time, and we switched to being inside the house. Now, here's where it gets weird. He came back. He even got out of the car again and said he was offering candy because his wife and daughter were out of town. I never saw him again. Candy van man, let's not meet. Number 7. A couple of years ago, I had a night shift job at a supermarket. I usually get home at around 7 AM, but on one night, my manager let me go earlier at 4 AM. I got home and found that the screen door, to which I did not have the key to, was locked. It was kind of spooky being outside at that hour, since my house is surrounded by dark woods. I called my mum and she came downstairs and let me in. She then proceeded to tell me that about midnight, my sister was downstairs alone watching TV with the lights on. She had gotten up to get something, and she heard what sounded like a quick knocking on the door. She walked quietly to the door and waited, and heard the knocking again. She ran upstairs and told my parents, but my dad couldn't see anything outside. About a month later, on the local news, we heard that 2 guys had been caught for a series of break-ins around our area, and that they were knocking on doors in the middle of the night. What creeped us out was the fact that these guys had to have been looking into the room my sister was in from the darkness, since the wall the TV is on is lined with 7-foot-tall windows all the way down. It still amazes me that my sister, knowing I come home at weird hours, didn't just open the door assuming that it was me. Hello everyone, this was day 10 of Shaf-Tober, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, leave me a comment down below telling me which one of these was your favourite. As always, stay sinister.